Thank you so much. We're back in Sarasota County here in the south part of the county, obviously making progress and bouncing back, and we're really excited to be here at Pelican Alley Restaurant. I know Renee and Tommy are here with us. Where are they at? And they're back open. You had a situation where you had a Category 4, almost Category 5 storm come through this area Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday evening. They had power on back 2 days ago, and now they're open for business. How many other places in this country would that happen? So I'm joined here with our Florida Division of Emergency Management Director, Kevin Guthrie. He's not been sleeping very much, and, he's just got more work to do, so that's just going to be the way it's going to be. DEP Secretary Sean Hamilton, Dane Eagle, Department of Economic Opportunity is also here with us, and he's been really working hard to help people bounce back, businesses and individuals, and we're utilizing all the tools at our disposal to be able to do it. We have had, since the storm went through, about 2,500 rescue missions, particularly on some of these really hard-hit barrier islands, but also some of the places more inland that had massive, massive rainfall and massive flooding. And you've seen that, of course, in southern Sarasota County, but it really goes all through the state in the heartland and then kind of the I-4 part. Really, really historic amount of water, and we're still seeing some of that in other parts of in those parts of the state as well, with rivers cresting and whatnot. So it's required a major, major effort, and we've had more urban search and rescue teams in Florida since the storm than at any time in our country's history since 9/11. So this is a huge effort. Coast Guard, urban search and rescue teams, local law enforcement, state law enforcement like Florida Fish and Wildlife, being on the boats and all the stuff they've done. We really, really appreciate it. There have been over 90,000 structures that have been checked, mostly in the very, very hard-hit areas, searching for survivors. Because of the pre-planning on this hurricane, with 42,000 utility workers stationed in the state of Florida prior to landfall, which has never been done at that scale, we've been able to now restore all but 1.86% of the state of Florida has power. Sarasota's down 8%, and Sarasota are without, but FPL's been making a lot of progress in the southern part of the state, or southern part of the county, so I think you're going to see more there. So basically, as of 12 o'clock, it was about 200,000 people out of a massive state, basically a week. I mean, the storm left Florida Thursday evening of last week. And so here we are here, and I can tell you, people that have been in Florida for a long time, I mean, there have been other hurricanes where people were without for weeks and weeks, even if you didn't have damage to your house, if you just happen to be in the wrong spot. So we're getting to the point now where there is more to be done, of course, in Lee County in particular. FPL, I think, is almost totally restored in Lee County. Some of the areas they have, like Fort Myers Beach, is going to require a rebuild, and it's going to require maybe the homes to have something happen because they may not be able to take power. So they've gotten most of what they can get done, almost all what they get done. The electric cooperative in Lee County, we brought in, I told Kevin, I said, we got all these great linemen in the state. They're finishing all these other areas. Don't send them back to Texas or Alabama. Send them to Southwest Florida. So they've been coming down. They're helping now get it done. And so you've seen, because we've had parts like in Lee County, you had Cape Coral, Dane Eagles from there. I mean, you had tens of thousands of households without power. I mean, maybe 70, 80,000 at the height. And I went down there the other day. We announced that there's 1,000 additional electrical co-op workers that are surging in. And then Duke Electric, they're putting in like 3,000 to help this Lee County Electrical Co-op. So there's more linemen now in those parts of Lee County than probably anywhere per capita in the country right now. And that's important because we want to get everyone up. So hopefully we'll see more progress there. You do have parts of the state, Sanibel, Pine Island to a lesser extent, but still significant, and then Fort Myers Beach, where you had a really significant downing of power lines. I was on Sanibel in person yesterday, and you'd have concrete utility poles just snapped in half, strewn all over the street. So that's going to require a lot more effort. So what we did with Pine Island is the bridge that was going from the mainland to Pine Island was washed out by the storm, one of the road there. So they were talking about evacuating everyone off the island, all this stuff, and that was not going to fly. The folks didn't want it. They wanted to be in their homes, and so they asked me for support that if we could get the bridge back. And so we said we would do it. We did an emergency contract, and we did it in 3 days. So now it's open, and they're doing it more. So now you saw the Publix trucks going across. The Publix is open there. Fresh stuff again, just like normal. Now you're going to see more power crews be able to just go in there. We have taken via Chinook helicopter utility workers onto Sanibel, and they are looking. But I mean, that is going to require a massive effort. So Kevin Guthrie and I are talking about what would they need to get all the equipment that they need to get that power back on Sanibel. We may do something temporarily that's using generators in the meantime, but you're probably going to need almost like an amphibious landing craft like the Marines use to load up like dozens of utility trucks, bring it to the shore, and then let them go do their thing. So we're working on ways to do that. We may be asking the federal government for help with that. But my view is we are doing, just like we did with Pine Island, I've authorized repairs to the Sanibel Causeway. So you have it was severed in 3 places, and there's no way to get to the island without having the causeway. So I don't want to have it out for a year by doing a new bridge or something. So we're going to do something like we did with Pine Island. It's going to take a little bit longer because it's a more significant effort. But in the meantime, we want people working on the island right now, debris removal, electrical, and continue working up until that bridge, the temporary repairs are done. I don't want to do nothing for 3 weeks or however long it's going to take and then say, okay, now you can start going. So we're working on ways to get more people there right now, but they're already there, and it's something that's good to see. Some of the damage when you're on the ground is more extensive than if you just fly over in a helicopter. You see massive debris, particularly on Sanibel. There's a lot of vegetation there, and I mean the power lines are just everywhere. So this is going to take a lot of TLC. But my view is we got to have all hands on deck. We got to get all these communities moving forward. You can't, if you just let it toil, then that's how they end up maybe never coming back. So I think there is a sense of urgency on it, and we're working across the board with all those. We had problems in Lee County with the water. They weren't getting water going into the homes, and so I told Kevin, I said we gotta help out here. So they got one of the best engineering firms in the country, people from MIT down there. They've restored the water, so everybody has water now for the county, and they're working on getting that water pressure up. They're going to be doing that, so we should be in really good shape there. And to have power and water, you can fix kind of your home a lot easier if you have those two things. If you don't have that, it makes it more difficult, and especially the water, because it's just basic hygiene. So we're happy to see that moving ahead of schedule. We also are happy because of the swift power restoration. FDOT has cleared 5,000 miles of roadway. We've been able to basically bring businesses back at a record level. I remember I was in Cape Coral the Friday after the storm had left, Wednesday night. Friday morning, Publix was open in Cape Coral. I go down to Fort Myers, and we're actually at the point, because all the stores bounced back so quickly, we set up these pods, points of distribution, where you could drive in, they'll give you water, give you food, tarp, whatever supplies, and people appreciated that. But we're now in a situation, because all this has come back quick, that counties like Sarasota are saying, no, we don't need the pods. Take that to people that may need it. So Sarasota asked us to close. We have all the pods in Sarasota closed now?
Yes, sir, I believe so.
Yeah, so that's fine. I mean, with the counties, they know what they need. So that's a good sign. I mean, you think about it, normally in these disasters, it takes a week to even get the pods set up. We had it set up, 36 hours after it left the state. And that's it. So now we're in such a county saying, hey, thanks, we got what we need. But the stores being open, I think, has been huge. And so here at Pelican Alley, they're back and they're ready to go. And I know a lot of people are excited to be able to go. They're going to host a concert on the stage back here for the first time since Ian hit. And that's going to help provide a great sense of normalcy to the community. People want to be out and about and get back to their daily lives. And so they're able to do it. And we appreciate them hosting this and others that are doing other stuff. I mean, I know that Collier County, they're back in school today with their Collier County schools. They're going to do football Friday night and all that, and that's fantastic. I know we're working with Charlotte and Lee to make sure they're back, in Sarasota. We need to get the kids back in school. If there's damage to a school and you need another classroom or two, we have the ability to do temporary pods where they can go in, and so you can keep kids in school, because there were very few schools that were totally destroyed. There were some in Lee County. Most of it, maybe there's a roof here or there. We can repair that, but in the meantime, let's get the kids back. So Kevin is working, Manny Diaz, Department of Education, all working to make sure that folks are able to get their kids back. And I tell you, talking with some of the families displaced, the kids, they really want their kids back in school. I mean, they're in a shelter, the kids are there all day. Getting them back in school is like a huge thing for the parents too, particularly those that have been the hardest hit. So we're working hard. We'll provide whatever support we need, but we understand that that's something that's very, very significant. We were very pleased to see the outpouring of support that we've had from private organizations. So I was just in Charlotte County. There's a group called Team Rubicon. They're a disaster relief organization, and they utilize their workforce as basically veterans, and they descend on areas in the aftermath of natural disasters like this. So we had a Vietnam veteran whose home had a lot of debris, had some problems with the electrical hookup. So we had an electrician there helping out with the power, Team Rubicon clearing all this debris. And this guy's back on his feet. And so they're doing that in communities all throughout Southwest Florida. So I want to thank them and all the other groups who are working so hard. I've met people from almost every state. I mean, it's amazing to see, being like a rural county like Hardee County, and I'll see firefighters from Oregon in Hardee County, in the heartland of Florida. And you think that's incredible. So many people from other counties have come, other states have come to help, and it's made a really big difference. We opened within 6 days, which we think is a record for a storm of this magnitude, a disaster recovery center in Fort Myers, and that will have FEMA assistance, business assistance through Florida's programs, and then Jimmy Patronis, the CFO for Florida, has all the insurance carriers there. So, I think most of these claims in this part of the state are going to be flood claims, not necessarily wind claims, but they have the private carriers that are mostly the wind insurance, but also National Flood Insurance Program for those flood claims. And so we are preparing to open 2 more tomorrow morning, one in Sarasota County, and that's going to be at Suncoast Technical College in Northport. We're also going to open up another one in Fort Myers at the Fort Myers DMS building on Victoria Avenue. There will also be one in Charlotte coming up this week as well. So these are, you don't have to go to these. You can do this online. You can file claims with FEMA, with your insurance, with flood, all that stuff. But if you have questions, there's going to be the people there that are going to be able to help. And we appreciate everyone that's doing that, and we hope that those will go very quickly. We have Elon Musk provided 375 internet devices for the satellite. And so what I've asked, because we had those at all the pods, as people would come in to get food, water, whatever they needed, they could also contact friends and family via that Starlink internet. As the pods close because of lack of demand, we want to make sure those systems are going out. So to the extent that there's still problems, some places have problems with the cable internet. Some people have more of the telecom that may be a little spotty. I think it's gotten a lot better, but we have those, and we want to deploy those so that they're being able to be used as best as they can. The First Lady, she was really taking the lead on our FloridaDisasterFund.org. So if you go to FloridaDisasterFund.org, you can make a donation or you can text disaster to 20222. And since she launched this the end of last week, it's raised over $37 million for the victims of the storm. And there'll be more on the way. And so that's the type of money that can go. It could go to a group like Team Rubicon to help them expand operations, to help people fix their homes. You know, the thing about the storm and where it hit is it hit areas that have a lot of elderly residents. And so, and I've met a lot of the folks. So you're somebody that may be 85 years old. You may not be able to do the same home repairs that you used to be able to do when you were younger. So you have folks that can come and help out in that regard. So that's something that I think is good, and that's going to be used across the affected areas to help people who kind of fall through the cracks for some of the FEMA relief or some of the other things the state has, and to make sure that people are getting back on their feet. And you know, the one thing that I've seen over the last week is an incredible amount of resilience from people. I've seen people that have lost their whole homes and lived through the storm when they had the storm surge was up to their chest in their own house. And the only thing they can say is thanks everybody else for everything everyone else is doing. There was no, oh, woe is me. It was, we really appreciate that we have great first responders, that we have folks that had a lot of support for them in this difficult situation. And I think the attitude is, by and large, you know, sometimes in life you get knocked down, and that's not really what counts. What counts is, are you going to get back up? Are you going to get back up and shoulder on? And people are doing that. So just know we're here. We understand how these things go. When I became governor, it was right on the heels of Hurricane Michael that had hit Northwest Florida. And these things fade from the headlines very quickly. The cameras leave very quickly. They're there. Obviously, there's some media that only goes there because they try to use that for an agenda, and we know who they are. But the end of the day is there's going to be other things that are going to happen. There's going to be things. And what I told the folks in Northwest Florida when I became governor is, I understand this is still very real, even months after it happened. And there's going to be a lot of TLC that's going to need to go in to getting the communities back on their feet. So I've been there so many times throughout my 4 years as governor, and we're continuing to do things to help them rebuild. And you know what? They've rebuilt very well. I think they've bounced back in a really strong way. People have wanted to be in Northwest Florida more than they've ever wanted to be. So the pathway, I think, is very, very clear. And especially, you're talking about some of the areas that got hit are some of the number one areas that people have wanted to move to over the last few years. So there's a reason for that. And I think people, by and large, have the view that they're just going to dig in and we're going to get this right. So there's going to be a lot we're going to do over months and even over years with some of the stuff that we're doing. But that's just what you have to do. So we're in it for the long haul. We understand the need for that, and the needs are not going to be the same in every community, but there are going to be needs across the state. So I'm happy to have had a lot of people working really hard, not just over the past week, but the week leading into this. And to be honest, these are things that you have to practice going into a hurricane season. And so we take pride in that in Florida, to have strong disaster response. And I think you've seen